Harlan Pyan, are you there?
I am here. How are you?
Harlan,
How's it
welcome to the
going,
show.
Harlan?
No complaints. No complaints.
What are you watching
Gotta
here this
like
morning?
everything that's going on, actually.
Yeah, did you get some stocks on this pullback here? Is the Fed giving you a Merry Christmas as well?
Pretty much. The interesting thing is, let's go back to Baba,
Okay.
because what you were saying was really true. When you start seeing stocks that are trading to the beat of their own drum versus the indexes, that's telling you something. And you need to pay attention to that. It's kind of like the tale of two tapes. There's the indexes, and then there's underneath the surface the world of individual stocks. And if you were starting to pay attention to the individual stocks, you'll see that even while they were shaking the tree on the indexes the last 3-4 days, tons of stocks were just setting up. They were not succumbing to all that weakness that you saw in the indexes. So, when you look at the market underneath the surface, under the hood of that shiny car called the indexes, you saw all of this coming. And Baba was a good example. We've been talking about it for weeks. We've been talking about that 50%. We've been talking about that support at 100-ish. So, here it is. It's a market leader. Where's it going? I don't know. I don't know how far it's going to go. I know where resistance is, and right now that's a retest to the highs.
So you think there's potential to get up to that 120 level here again on Baba?
It could, if we decide to go on a run. Keep in mind this is also window dressing period coming up real quick.
It's a good call
and
there too.
Every mutual fund on the planet is going to want to show that they have, all the greatest, the latest and greatest and best stocks in their portfolio.
And another consideration
so that's
there.
A good driver.
Yeah, and another consideration too is tomorrow's option expiration here. We got the end of the quarter actually, so we got the witch coming into play. And typically on these stronger years, you do see a strong open. So I wouldn't be surprised, with 2 days of strength here. Now we got an option expiration day happening tomorrow as well. We might see, a continued strength even into tomorrow. Because I think if I was looking at the stats correctly, like 10 of the last 12 of these option expiration days have been significantly higher, at least on the open.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because look at before yesterday. You're seeing the market sitting down there in the gutter, and everybody is firmly convinced that you're going to hell in a handbasket after you've already went to hell in a handbasket. So those people who are convinced that they're more reactionary type individuals, that we're just going to keep going down, what do they start doing? They start buying puts, they start shorting stocks, and guess what? The market is going to, like we talked about last week, they're going to rip your face off if you're short. So that's the problem when you chase stocks. We talked about this last week with energy stocks, and, gosh, it was a week ago, and I said, careful, you're late to the party, and you know what? Watch out for a short cover rally because they're going to rip your face off, and if you are short, they are not going to let you out. Now, that being said, here's what they're doing to the S&P and the indexes. Same thing. If you are short, they are not letting you out.
Nope.
They are, but you're going to experience a lot of pain. So, it's just a really good educational point that it doesn't pay to chase stocks. When you have an extended run going on somewhere like the energy, what's our favorite phrase? You got to sell your peanuts while the circus is in town. On the short side, that meant to cover. Look at a chart of SD for a second.
Yep.
I think it's SD. SM.
Right? There's both of those. You can look SM Energy you're looking at. The stock has went from $88 all the way down to 30, and what a huge pop yesterday. Went from 31 to 38. Holy cow, that's a hell of a pop yesterday.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. But look at it. How many times does Joel talk about it? You talk about it. I talk about it. We always talk about it. Well, the stock hits a low, and then what does it do? You want to see some stabilization. All last week, this stock just sat there, and it could not go below, for the most part, that $30 level. Mm-hmm. That's that stabilization, and that was the fight where buyers, and for everyone who was a seller, there was someone willing to pick it up from Nervous Nelly. Nervous Nelly always sells at the low out of fear of more losses after she already has those losses.
And
So
Nervous
it's just
Nellie's
a really
not a
good
happy
example.
camper today.
No, no. Well, what happens at market peaks? Well, greedy Gus shows up. So,
Greedy Gus?
so greedy Gus. Yeah, we
Greedy
call
Gus
him
and Nervous Nellie. Excellent.
Greedy Gus and Nervous Nellie, right?
They're quite
They're
a pair.
emotional extremists.
They're quite
So
a pair.
so there you have it. So look what we're seeing today. We're seeing the S&P up huge. We're seeing the NASDAQ up huge. If you're short, they ain't letting you out. They're ripping your face off. So, but is that really a bad thing? Well, look underneath the surface of that thing called the stock market. There's still a ton of names. I could have literally went 150% invested yesterday. There are just a ton of names that all they've done is come down, test support levels, test moving averages, and they took off like a rocket. So, trade what you see. We're seeing a lot. We're seeing a lot of good stuff out there. This whole last week, while the indexes were sitting, the NASDAQ, the S&P, they all came down to a 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level, which is, just another bullet point of information telling you where you need to lean. That level was defended, but underneath the surface, there were a lot of stocks that were saying, you know what, I'm ready to go. Go look at tons of the bios. Go look at Amgen. Go look at Celgene. Go look at IBB. Go look at VRX. Just tons of these big name biotech stocks. And I'm not talking these bio stocks that were all these little IPOs that came public in the last year that have no sales and have high burn rates. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the big market leaders. So, they all look good. A lot of structure out there. Now, the problem is, what do you do now? Are you late to the party? It's kind of hard buying it when you have an index that's going to be up 50 points with the NASDAQ at the open.
Right.
So, maybe you let the opening dust settle, and then you look for names that you don't have to chase.
Couple questions coming out of the chat here, Rob, or Harlan. Your favorite fan, Rob Hood. He's always got some tickers for you. He's got two of them for you: WAGE, which is WageWorks, and then MOH, which is Molina Healthcare. What are your thoughts on these two stocks?
WageWorks. Let's talk about that one, because the other day, what was it? The day before yesterday, after the close, IBD came out and said, market in a correction. We did a post on our midday update, and you might have read it because I know you get our newsletter, that I pretty well slammed that market and correction theology, and WageWorks was one of the ones that I used. So was IBB and Celgene and a couple of the indexes. I didn't see this market and correction stance. I said, wait a minute, look at these stocks. I see stocks that are in clearly defined uptrends, and all they're doing is pulling back to the 50-day moving average in an orderly manner. So where's this market and correction? WageWorks is one of them. Look at it. It hit a peak, sold off, pulled back, a little bit sloppy pullback, but still overall orderly. And what did it do? All it did is come down to just shy of touching the 50-day moving average. So when you look at the overall daily chart with a 50-day moving average, there are tons of stocks that look like this. These are classic Rob Hood stocks.
Nice.
I got nothing bad to say. Now, if you're buying it here, just remember, in the last 3 days, this thing just ran 4 points. Your support level is a break at a 50-day. So you have to, if you're chasing it, off of those lows, sure, could it keep going? Yeah, but you're taking more risk. And that's the price you pay for a confirmation. And the confirmation is, the Fed comes out, story remains the same, blah, blah, blah.
What about the Molina Healthcare one, MOH? What are yours? Yeah, MOH, Molina Healthcare. It actually was one of those stocks that was trying to break out to a new high there yesterday, 52.01.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this one?
I see nothing bad with it. Draw a line across 49 and a half. That's support. That breaks that support. There's support at the 50-day. I got nothing bad to say about it.
Stocks
sure doesn't look like some of this stuff that's beat down in the gutter. Remember, only the best and forget the rest. You always want the stocks that are
Great.
clearly defined uptrends, pulling back off highs, or even hitting new highs. That's where the leadership is.
That was a great quote, Harlan. I like that.
What else is on your radar here, Harlan? So I know you were
Well,
looking at you looked at Baba. What else are you seeing that you liked? You liked them holding up during the recent market sell-off, and the stock that's starting to look like it's ready to go here again. Anything else on your radar?
Look at Palo Alto, PANW.
Bringing it up here on the chart right now. Yep.
Yeah, seeing as how we're looking at Molina, what do you see? Molina, the market's been falling apart, but look at Molina. It was going sideways. Now look at Palo Alto, PANW.
Yeah,
what do you
trying
see
to
there?
break out too. Yeah.
Where's the correction? I don't see a correction. I see a stock in a clearly defined uptrend that's been tightening up here between 115 and 20-ish, 120-ish. So, again, let your stocks tell you what to do by the action they exhibit versus watching the headline number on TV. So, when you do that, you're looking at a stock that's got no problems. Now look at, how about ACT?
Hey, which one? ACT Activist?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Trading up here, $4 in the pre-market, just 100 shares here, so 264.85. I don't love trading those $200 stocks. The spreads are too wide.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you there. You got to tie up a lot of capital to get any size. But I just use it as a chart pattern recognition example. Draw a line across 255. What's so special about it? It's a prior peak, so old resistance in a pullback tends to become new support once they break out. So, there's nothing wrong with this. Look at Amgen. Same deal.
Biotechs.
Well, I'm just showing you where the structure is, what you're looking for. These are, the type of patterns that, that you really want to be honed in on. Look at what it did. All it did is pull back off at times right down to the 50-day in a prior support zone. So where's the problem? So, this is what we're seeing out there. We're seeing this all over the place. Take a look at EXPE.
Expedia?
Yep.
Yeah, 85 has been absolutely enormous and is holding.
Yeah, I'm looking at a name. It broke out of a base, into a new high, sucks in all the breakout buyers. Breakouts work, don't get me wrong. Breakout of bases work. There's a time and a place for them, though. When you have issues breaking out of bases in an extremely extended market, they tend to do exactly this. They tend to come right back into the base and look for a support. But line up your tops. 92 down to, 87-ish? So if you draw that line, this is a classic Rob Hood. If it breaks to the upside, it could go on a run. Where's support? You set your stop and you break it a 50-day at 84 and you say, I'm out of here. So that 84 level defines your risk if you're taking this trade here.
I want to talk just kind of I want to look at the opposite story here in Twitter, and I think I know where you're going to go with this, but this is one that is not showing good relative strength. Here we are, we took off yesterday in the overall market, and Twitter just kind of hung out. It could not rally. We know Dick was selling a few shares there too, which was putting a little bit of pressure, I think, on the stock when that was getting disclosed as well here. But it was not popping with the overall market. This morning it is. This morning it's getting a decent lift, but it's pre-market and still light volume, 133,000 shares. Not liking the relative strength here. What are your thoughts on Twitter there, Harlan?
This is the exact opposite. What do you see with the overall chart? I see a stock that's in a clearly defined downtrend.
Yeah.
So see the difference? What is the overall trend of your stock? Before you buy anything or sell anything out there, you always have to ask. I don't care what you hear. You can hear, if there's one thing I learned on Wall Street, they can sell ice to Eskimos. Look at the chart. Go right to the chart, and and say, first things first, what's the overall trend of the market? Look at Twitter from July through October. It was, a little bit sloppy, mind you, but it was above the 50-day, and it was trending higher. Great. Now look at it. It's below the 50-day and trending lower. That all being said, though, if we are in, here comes Santa Claus, a rising tide could carry all ships. That means it's going to take the laggards along with it to a degree. I can draw a little bit of a line at the lows of, about a week ago? Mm-hmm. draw a little line right there. I mean, you could have a very mini short-term double bottom. But what would you rather be? Would you rather be buying a stock that's damaged goods, or would you rather be buying something that's ready to break out, that's in demand, like a Baba or a Palo Alto or something like that? I'd rather only the best and forget the rest.
Ace making a good point here too. Sometimes towards the end of the year, you might get actually tax loss selling. I mean, potentially on some of these weaker issues he's saying with AMD and with Twitter. But then the January effect. So maybe come January, maybe these stocks could find a little bit of life. What are your thoughts there? Do you play a
Total
seasonality?
agreement.
Are you a seasonality trader too, Harlan? Or do you kind of
Not
just
too
avoid?
much.
Yeah.
I try to, the stock market's a really huge universe. So, you can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I just focus on, what works best for me. I'm not going to disagree with anything he says about that, because there is a lot of validity to the January effect. Anything that's been beaten down, hey, they're going to take their loss to offset gains in other areas. And, those stocks could get a nice dead cat bounce, bear market rally, whatever you want to call it.
I got one more for you here, Harlan, and it's stock I just talked about earlier. I got this one in my investment portfolio, and it's one of those big winners that's eating me up. And this was not a trade, this was an investment. I bought this OVAS, which is Ova Science, back at $10 about 6 months ago. It's getting upgraded here at Wedbush this morning with a price target of $47. It's up another 18%. It's up 19% now. It's up 41.83, and it's itching me so bad. And I keep thinking you're saying sell your peanuts while the circus is in town. I just feel like the circus is like in town here right now for me on this OVAS.
That was my exact thought. The moment I pulled
but it
the
keeps
chart
going
up.
up. The circus was in town a month ago when the thing was at 20. Now the circus is really in town. All kinds of clowns with happy faces.
This is a good example of what I'm talking about. Let your stocks tell you what to do. Where's the correction? When you look at the indexes, you see one thing, but when you look at this stock, you see something totally different. So always let your stocks tell you what to do. I see a stock that, ever since the October lows, and the October lows really, all it did is come back to a prior little support level. It's been 2 forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 1 back all the way. And now, this thing's going ballistic and is out of control. So what do? Well, there is a point where you do have to sell your peanuts while the circus is in town. Nobody said you had to sell them all. Maybe when you have huge gains in something like this, and it goes on a run like it is, maybe you sell off half. Maybe you look for the happy medium.
I already did that.
Well, then maybe
when it went from
you
10
off
to 20.
more. All right, well,
sell half again?
Let's talk. Well, maybe that's what you keep doing. Maybe you just, because that way, if it keeps going, at least you still have some. If it falls apart, at least you sold some at a higher price.
Right.
Sometimes I can give you your cake, but you can't eat it. You know what I'm saying? So now this is a good example. What if this issue is going on a climax run? Why don't you know what happens to climax runs, right? They all end very badly. Case in point, punch in RUFF.
Yeah, this is just honestly unbelievable here, but this was all off of,
Yep.
Obviously this is the inverse with the, but we talked about this, once the Russia, was going to turn around, once oil prices were going to start to turn around, we would see this thing collapse. And that is exactly what we are seeing here the last 2 days.
Right. I mean, there's before the last 2 days, and, one could even say, the intraday 2 days ago, you looked at that chart then, you're going, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
That's an excellent example of what happens in a climax run. Obviously, this one, was on the short side. So, but, that's maybe what you got to do with your name. So in the meantime, what do you do with everything else out there? All I can tell you, people, is look for the names that haven't gotten. You're sure not going to go buy an OVAF today. Is it up today in pre-market? I'm not looking at that screen of yours.
OVAS, yeah, it's up. It got upgraded. It's up another $7. It's up 41.93 now. Like that's why it's up 20% here again on an upgrade.
Okay, well, here's the deal. Knowing what we've talked about, knowing what we know about chasing stocks and trying to catch a bus that's left the station, would anybody in their right mind that is smart money, intelligent money, be buying this thing now? You're late to the party. So obviously we know this is something that you're not going to be a buyer of. But what about names that still have structure that haven't gotten away from themselves? That's where you want to focus.
Okay.
You want to focus on names that have those nice, orderly pullback off highs patterns that are in clearly defined uptrends.
All right. Well, Harlan, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. We're coming up on about 5 minutes to 9 here, so we're gonna have to switch gears a little bit, but definitely appreciate your take. Thank you. That was fantastic
You bet.
information. Appreciate you taking some questions from the crew, and we wish you some happy trading here on through Thursday and Friday.
Same to you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Harlan.
We'll
All
see you
right.
later.
Cheers.
Thank you. You
So-
too. Bye-bye.